Chloe and I had recently developed a fondness for bags from that luxury brand. When heard me mention it, he looked thoughtful. I knew he was waiting to surprise me. Sure enough, before long, I received a package from that luxury brand. I happily opened it, only to find I'd received the very model Chloe had admired. I simply thought Daniel had mixed them up and didn't give it much thought. I opened my social media feed and saw Chloe had updated her status. The picture showed the exact bag I had chosen, with the caption, "Even if it's not quite my style, I love anything you give me." A knot of suspicion formed in my stomach. When I refreshed again, the post was nowhere to be found. So I secretly checked Daniel's bank statements. I discovered he had made 2 separate payments to that luxury brand at the same time. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. My suspicions lingered, so I simply grabbed my Kelly bag and left. The moment I stepped into the company, I saw a group of colleagues gathered enviously around Chloe. Wow, Ms. Chloe, that bag must have cost a fortune. Expensive things just look better, don't they? That bag alone is worth half my annual salary. So jealous, you're a rich lady. I pushed the bag up my wrist and walked over quickly. What's all the excitement about? Ms. Grace is here. We're talking about Ms. Chloe's new bag. Sarah, my colleague, also noticed the bag on my arm and exclaimed, "Wow, Ms. Grace got a new bag too." Colleagues immediately crowded around, chattering excitedly. "Wow, that Kelly bag is beautiful too. You two must have bought them together. It's great to have money." A happy smile curved on my lips. "This one wasn't bought by me, Daniel gave it to me." "Oh," my colleagues chuckled knowingly, "how sweet," the sickeningly sweet smell of love. Out of the corner of my eye, I subtly watched Chloe. A fake smile was plastered on her face, but her eyes held a calm, complex mix of emotions. A bitter feeling rose in my heart, yet I casually chatted with her. "Oh, you bought this one? I actually wanted this one initially. But once I got it, I realized I still preferred the Kelly, so I had Daniel return it. I was hoping we could carry matching bags, but I guess you ended up buying the one I returned." In truth, Daniel had never bought me a Birkin bag. This was merely a test for Chloe. Sure enough, a few cracks appeared in her smile. "I've been wanting to buy a larger bag lately." I continued my probing. "By the way, when did you go buy it? You didn't even invite me." She unconsciously touched her nose. "Just over the weekend, I was just browsing, and it happened to be in stock, so I bought it." My heart sank. I had minored in psychology in college, so reading micro-expressions wasn't difficult for me. Given her reaction, I feared the bag in her hand was truly connected to Daniel. "All right, everyone, don't just stand around. Go back to work," I called out to the curious colleagues. Entering my office, I leaned weakly against the door, a whirlwind of emotions swirling within me. Should I dig deeper? One was my husband, whom I'd loved for 6 years, the other, Chloe, whom I'd known for 8 years. Both were indispensable people in my life. If there truly was something going on between them, could I bear such a blow? But once a seed of doubt is planted, it's hard to resist the urge to dig deeper. Chapter that afternoon, Daniel returned from a business trip. I agonized for a long time, but finally chose to bravely confront reality. So I took the Kelly bag and went to find him. "Daniel, thank you for the new bag, you're too generous." He smiled. "As long as you like it, darling." Looking into his eyes, I pouted playfully, "But you're so silly, this wasn't the one I told you about." "Huh?" He looked surprised, then chuckled apologetically. "My apologies, darling, I've been so busy with work lately, I must have gotten it wrong." Wick. "H1 did you like? I'll buy you another one, how about that?" I said considerately. "Never mind, this bag wasn't cheap. Buying 2 at once would be such a waste. Besides, both styles are quite hard to order. I saw Chloe already got the one I liked, so it's probably out of stock now." At these words, Daniel faltered for a second, then immediately regained his composure. "Darling, I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you next time." "Okay," I agreed sweetly, but a bitter feeling welled up inside me. "Give him one more chance," I silently pleaded to myself. "By the way, I heard Chloe's bag was a gift. Do you know who gave it to her?" How would I know, darling? Isn't she always closest to you? Don't you even know?" Daniel's tone was casual, but fine beads of sweat appeared on his temples. A wave of betrayal instantly surged through me. I forced out a stiff smile. "True, maybe she's had a romantic encounter recently." "Maybe so. How long has it been since her divorce?" "She should find someone new to heal with," Daniel said, trying to make light of it. "New love?" I scoffed inwardly. "More like an old acquaintance." I saw his phone on his office desk and had a new idea. Daniel, can I borrow your phone? Mine's out of battery. He indeed seemed nervous, quickly picking up his phone. I have a meeting. You can charge it yourself. He handed me his charger and stood up to leave. Something was definitely wrong. I narrowed my eyes. That night, I fought off sleep until Daniel was sound asleep, then quietly crept up, took his phone, and went into the bathroom. I tried entering the password several times, but it kept saying incorrect password. My heart turned colder with each failed attempt. For years, our phone passwords had always been each other's birthdays. Now he'd changed his password, and his heart had changed too. I used his fingerprint to unlock his phone and discovered that besides me, he had someone named Luna pinned on WhatsApp. I opened the chat, but found no conversati on history. So I clicked on this person's social media feed, and the latest post was precisely the one Chloe had deleted that day. Even if it's not quite my style, I love anything you give me. This was Chloe's burner account. I scrolled down, post by post. This account had been active for half a year. They'd eaten together, gone on dates almost every week, and uploaded photos to this account. And liked every single one. No wonder Daniel had been working overtime, traveling for business, and staying out all night so frequently these past 6 months. He had found new comforts elsewhere. My heart pounded. My knuckles, gripping the phone, turned white. Taking a deep breath, I forced myself to calm down slightly. I logged into his WhatsApp account using my tablet. After doing all this, I put his phone back in its place and turned my back to him, falling asleep. Chapter the next day, my tablet received a message from Chloe's burner account. Luna, want to go to the cinema with me after work? Daniel replied quickly, not today. There's a thunderstorm expected tonight, and Grace is scared of thunder. I need to be home with her. Luna, I'm scared too, why won't you stay with me? Daniel, stop it. Luna, she can stay at her dad and mom's house, but I'm all alone in this city. I clearly need you more than she does. I felt all the blood rush straight to my head. When she was abused by her ex-husband, I rushed out without hesitation to protect her, asking Dad to handle her divorce case. She had no income, so I brought her into my company, gave her a job, and shared the profits. For so many years, I thought we were each other's only support in this city. Now she was shamelessly claiming she was all alone and even trying to interfere in my marriage. What did all my years of dedication mean? I closed my eyes, forcing myself to continue reading. Luna's messages kept flooding in. Go tell her you have to work overtime tonight. I don't care, I want to go to the cinema with you. You've been away on business for so many days, didn't you think of me? Daniel finally responded sluggishly, okay. A moment later, I indeed received a message from Daniel. Darling, I have to work overtime tonight. There's a thunderstorm expected, so go back to Dad and Mom's place. What do I care about a thunderstorm? My life had already been struck by lightning. I stifled the nausea in my stomach and replied with a simple, okay. Before I knew it, quitting time arrived, and the sky was dark and heavy. Daniel was working overtime, and sure enough, Chloe's office light was still on. I leaned against Daniel's office door, feigning fear. Daniel, don't work overtime anymore. Let's go home together. I have a feeling it's going to thunder any minute. I can't, I'm not finished yet. Daniel's office desk was artfully piled with numerous documents, and he looked flustered. I was on a business trip the past 2 days, so there's a lot of backlog, he explained with an awkward smile. His actions screamed guilt. I silently scoffed. But outwardly, I had to pretend to be fragile and timid. Daniel, I'm really scared. How about I stay and work overtime with you? Then we can go home together once you're done. Daniel clearly panicked and quickly said, Darling, you should just go home first. I don't know when I'll be finished. What if I pull an all-nighter? Wouldn't that affect your rest? My eyes darted subtly, and I pressed on, well, why not just take it home to do? His eyes shifted, unable to meet mine. He could only make up an excuse. There are too many documents, they'd be easy to lose if I move them back and forth. Then will you drive me home first, and then come back later? He hesitated for a few seconds, nodded, picked up his car keys, and walked out with me. Instead of taking him straight downstairs, I intentionally walked past Chloe's office and pulled him into chat. Chloe, still working overtime? You must be exhausted. Not exhausted, just unlucky. Chloe quipped, though her gaze towards Daniel held a hint of gloom. Well, we're off then. You head home early, okay? I said, smiling as I bid her farewell. We hadn't walked many steps when I heard Daniel's phone ringing incessantly in his pocket. I didn't need to guess who was sending the messages. I teased him, feigning innocence. Who's suddenly sending you so many messages? Someone can't bear for you to be away even for a moment? Daniel glanced at his phone, forcing a smile. It's just work-related stuff. I'll deal with it later. ####. Chapter Dad and Mom were overjoyed to see Daniel and me home. They welcomed us with beaming smiles and showered us with questions and warmth. Daniel was about to leave, but I held him back. It's been a while since we've been back. Stay and chat with Dad and Mom for a bit. He kept anxiously checking his watch, but couldn't bring himself to say anything. Watching him squirm, I found it quite amusing. After a long while, I finally spoke. Dad and Mom, Daniel still needs to go back to the company to work overtime. Don't crowd him with questions. Dad remarked, Daniel is truly hardworking. With him in the family, we can rest assured. Rest assured? I scoffed inwardly. With him, this family was more likely doomed. Shortly after Daniel left, I opened my tablet and scrolled through his chat history with Chloe. The cinema Chloe found wasn't far from the company. They were truly bold, completely unafraid of being seen by colleagues from the company. Mom looked puzzled. Where are you going? It looks like it's going to rain. I calmly replied, a friend asked me to go to the cinema. I'll be back after the movie. Mom has a heart condition, so it's better not to tell her about this. What movie is so exciting that you're going to see it in the rain? I curled my lips, thinking, a dramatic confrontation, how could it not be exciting? I'm driving, so don't worry. No need to wait for me for dinner. Mom nodded and handed me an umbrella. Using the e-ticket stub Chloe had sent Daniel, I bought a ticket for the same movie showing. When I arrived at the cinema, the movie had already started. I scanned the room and found them in the middle row. I quietly took a seat not far from them, making sure to pull out my phone and start recording. I thought you weren't coming. I heard Chloe's syrupy voice, feigning sweetness as she flirted with Daniel, and instantly got goosebumps. Daniel put his arm around her. How could that be? When have I ever broken a promise to you? Then why did you go home with Grace, and make me wait so long? Tell me, between me and Grace, who do you really love more? Daniel avoided the question. You two are different, there's nothing to compare. Let's just watch the movie. Humph, Chloe pouted, changing the subject. By the way, how's the fundraising going? The word fundraising made my ears perk up instantly. The company was about to undergo Series A fundraising, and Daniel insisted on persuading me to sign a strict earn-out clause with the investment firm. Could this also be related to Chloe? She's still the company's biggest shareholder, after all, so I can only try to persuade her. Daniel thumped his chest, assuring her, but don't worry, I'll definitely convince her to sign the earn-out clause. That's good, you're so capable. Chloe nestled happily against him. Once her shares are diluted, we won't have to fear her anymore. My pupils suddenly constricted, a storm raging within me. So, not only were they cheating on me behind my back, but they were also plotting to take my shares. My heart felt tightly gripped by a hand, making it impossible to breathe. I practically fled the cinema hall. How could they do this to me? All those years of friendship, and in their eyes, only betrayal and scheming remained. Tears silently streamed down my cheeks, which I resolutely wiped away. It was my fault for misjudging people. From now on, I wouldn't hold back. When the movie ended, Daniel walked out of the cinema with his arm around Chloe. I pretended to casually walk in their direction. At the moment of confrontation, all three of us froze. Daniel? What is going on here? My lips trembled slightly, and I stared at their intertwined hands, utterly stunned. ####. Chapter Daniel paled, pushing Chloe away abruptly. Darling, let me explain. Chloe, who had been pushed away, first gave him a hurt look, then frantically explained, Grace, we just happened to run into each other. I almost laughed at her ridiculous lie. Just happened to run into each other? And you just happened to be wrapped around each other? Daniel, didn't you say you were going back to the company to work overtime? Is this your job description? Darling, Daniel was speechless, only able to stare at me blankly. After a long pause, he finally managed to stammer, I'm sorry. Chloe's lips trembled as she explained, Grace, listen to me, we were just momentarily confused, but nothing really happened between us. Listening to her words, I found them both laughable and chilling. Even after all this, she still wouldn't tell me the truth. All those dates behind my back, all those nights spent away from home, even plotting against my shares. For her, did all that mean nothing happened? Chloe, don't you forget, when your ex-husband abused you, who rushed out to protect you? When you left with nothing, had no income, and couldn't find a job, who brought you into the company? And when you divorced, you were penniless, couldn't even afford a lawyer, and Dad handled your divorce case without charging a penny. Have you forgotten all of this? They say loyalty should be met with loyalty. Even if you don't remember those kindnesses, you shouldn't turn around and bite the hand that fed you, should you? My chest heaved violently. I roared these words at her, using almost all my strength. Darling, Daniel tried to pull me. Get lost. Don't touch me. I recoiled from his touch. In disgust. You make me sick. I had already accepted this fact, yet when it came to the confrontation, my heart still felt like it was being stabbed by 1,000 needles, a dense, agonizing pain assaulting me. It turns out the books were all lies. Those who betray true love don't end up being stabbed by 1,000 needles, only those who give their true love feel the pain of being pierced by silver needles. Grace, this isn't as serious as you think. Nothing substantial happened between us. You have to believe us, we were just momentarily confused. I couldn't listen to Chloe's explanations. Just seeing her face made me feel physically ill. Abandoning them and their desperate explanations, I ran headlong to the parking lot. Daniel quickly caught up and got into the passenger seat. Get out! Get out of my car! I screamed at him, breaking down. Darling, calm down, listen to me. My eyes red, I frantically questioned him. How can you expect me to calm down? How can I be calm after what you two have done? She's Chloe. Daniel, no matter how desperate or out of control you are, you shouldn't have chosen her, do you understand? Did you ever consider my feelings? Did you ever care about me at all? His voice trembling, he said, I know, darling, I know all of this. It's all my fault, I let you down. But please give me one more chance, okay? I promise to change. From now on, I won't associate with her anymore. I won't associate with any other women, please. His eyes sorrowful, he clasped his hands together, pleading humbly. I clenched my fists, screaming hysterically at him, why should I? Why should I forgive you? Why didn't you think of today when you were doing all those things? And now you have the nerve to ask for my forgiveness? Darling, listen to me, we can't get divorced. Don't you remember? Mom isn't well, she just had heart surgery a while ago. If she found out about this, she wouldn't be able to handle it. And the company? Without me, how could you handle so many company matters by yourself? Daniel's eyes were slightly red as he carefully tried to explain to me. Chapter 1 knew I had to divorce him, but not right now. Because I hadn't yet gathered enough evidence to prove his infidelity. Are you sure absolutely nothing happened between you and her? Tears welled in my eyes as I stared intently into his. No, truly, nothing ever happened between us, darling. You have to believe me, I will always love you the most. His ardent declaration made me nauseous. Suppressing my disgust, I pretended to concede, fine, not divorcing is an option, but I have 3 conditions. Okay. As long as we don't divorce, as long as we stay together, you can ask for anything, he said, nodding vigorously at the glimmer of hope. First, from now on, you are never to spend the night out again, and you must report your whereabouts to me at all times when on business trips. Okay, he agreed readily. Second, you are to delete all of Chloe's contact information and never see her again. You two are to have absolutely no communication or interaction whatsoever. No problem, he nodded firmly. Third, I want Chloe to sell me all her shares for 50% below market price. From now on, she will have no further ties to the company, consider it her compensation to me. That, Daniel hesitated. My gaze pierced him sharply, you disagree? Do you feel sorry for her? I knew it. You're not truly remorseful. How could you really cut ties with her? Then let's get divorced. Right now. Get out of my sight. My outburst left Daniel sweating profusely, and he hastily agreed, I agree. This is what I owe you, and what she owes you. How could she ever be as important as you, darling? I'll make her leave the company right now. After that, Daniel, I don't know how, truly persuaded Chloe to surrender her shares. On the day of the contract signing, I saw Chloe again. She looked considerably more haggard than before, her face pale, a few fine lines etched at the corners of her eyes, her head bowed, looking utterly dispirited. I looked at her, a bitter ache in my heart. I never imagined it would be you who stabbed me in the back. This was heartfelt. Chloe and I had known each other for 8 years, from our student days right through to our careers, from struggling interns to co-founding our own company. She was not only my comrade in arms but also my family. Compared to a lover's betrayal, hers was a far greater blow. I'm sorry, she whispered, unable to meet my eyes, her voice almost inaudible. After that day, my married life seemed to return to its formerly happy state. Chloe resigned from her position at the company, sold her house, and moved to Riverwood, hundreds of miles away. Daniel came home on time every day, eagerly took on all the household chores, and often cooked for me himself. Everything appeared perfect. But only I knew it was all a facade. My marriage was like a rotten apple. Once it starts to decay, no matter how normal it looks on the outside, it's already riddled with holes on the inside. Like how Daniel would instinctively flip his phone over when I approached, like how his WhatsApp contact list still contained the account named Luna, like how he still liked those melancholic posts on Luna's social media feed, and like how he still hadn't given up on making me sign that earn-out clause. ##### chapter with fundraising imminent, I still refused to sign the earn-out clause, and Daniel was getting anxious. Darling, how have you decided on the fundraising? I looked troubled. I still feel that an earn-out clause is too risky. If it fails, our shares will be heavily diluted, and our say in the company will diminish. Daniel looked anxious. Darling, what are you afraid of? You founded the company yourself. Don't you have faith in it? But the terms of the earn-out clause are simply too harsh. We cannot possibly commit to an 80% sales growth within 3 years. I shook my head. But the company is doing so well right now. Our quarterly sales are steadily increasing. 80% isn't difficult for us at all. Then have you considered the consequences? If we fail, we could lose everything. Especially me, I hold the most shares. If we fail, what will I do? My stance was firm. Daniel insisted, our company is developing so well right now. This money can allow us to expand our production chain, develop new products, and greatly broaden our market. Why should we give up this opportunity? Darling, your biggest problem right now is that you're too conservative. You have no confidence in the company at all. We really need this investment now to develop new series, seize market share, and prevent other companies from getting ahead. I nodded, humoring him. Give me a few more days to think about it. His attitude only further convinced me that I absolutely could not sign the earn-out clause. But I still had no clue about his and Chloe's scheme. After much thought, I decided to personally review the company's financial statements. Before left, she was in charge of the company's sales, while Daniel handled management and finance. If they were truly up to something, they would surely leave a trace in the financial reports. I meticulously went through the company's financial statements from the past few years and, sure enough, found a problem. Among the company's expenditures, there was a $5 million payment recorded as market development fees transferred to an overseas studio, and this transaction had been personally signed and approved by Daniel. Our company primarily focused on cultural and creative design. While we had collaborated with some overseas companies, $5 million seemed a bit excessive. Puzzled, I searched online for the studio's official website. Clicking on the webpage, I couldn't help but frown. The studio's website was extremely poorly designed. Moreover, their business scope was remarkably similar to our company's. Opening their portfolio, I was astonished to find the content looked incredibly familiar. These were clearly my works. After making slight changes to the colors and a few details, they had directly claimed them as their own. This was nothing short of an insult and a provocation. I was furious, my knuckles turning white as I gripped the mouse tightly. My intuition told me that this studio, named Legno, was definitely connected to Chloe and Daniel. After seeing their new product preview, my conviction grew even stronger. The design theme for their next season's new products was precisely the same as my unreleased design proposal. Before the design proposal was finalized, I had never publicly shown it to anyone. I had only confirmed the theme with Daniel and Chloe. Besides them, I simply couldn't think of a fourth person. #### chapter. A few days later, I received definite news. The legal representative of Legno Studio was a man named Ethan. I searched for the name in my mind and quickly remembered that he was Chloe's cousin. So, Chloe and Daniel had been playing such a huge game behind my back. Their plan was quite elaborate. On one hand, they were urging me to sign the earn-out clause, diluting my shares. On the other hand, they were secretly transferring the company's assets to a new overseas company, turning my company into an empty shell. They would then make a clean getaway with my works and money. My heart felt like it was being scorched by an invisible fire, my eyes flickering. These two were utterly despicable. I took several deep breaths, finally forcing myself to calm down somewhat, then quickly contacted a private investigator. I had evidence of Daniel and Chloe transferring the company's assets. The next step was, of course, to gather proof of their infidelity. Since they intended to use these actions to destroy years of my hard work, I would naturally ensure they reaped what they sowed. I went to Daniel's office, putting on a fake smile. Daniel, I've thought about it, and you're right. Our company's sales are really great right now. We need to seize this opportunity. Really? Daniel looked pleasantly surprised. Darling, you've finally come around, that's wonderful. His voice held uncontainable excitement. I'll have someone prepare the signing right away. I nodded, thank you for your hard work. Afraid I would change my mind, Daniel tirelessly arranged the signing details. I wasn't idle either. I found a venture capital firm I favored, drafted a contract, and secretly signed it ahead of Daniel. On the day of the earn-out clause signing, Daniel woke up especially early to iron his clothes and style his hair, looking utterly confident. Not to be outdone, I put on a sharp suit and chose a bright red lipstick. Daniel was in a good mood. Before leaving, he praised me. Darling, you look very powerful and beautiful today. My red lips curved into a beautiful arc, and I scoffed inwardly, how can I deliver a fatal blow without looking powerful? Before the signing began, Daniel, representing our company, delivered a passionate speech on stage, outlining the grand vision for the company after capital infusion. I sat in the audience, watching his smug expression, thinking he looked like a foolish clown. Mr. Thomas, the head of the investment firm, seemed very pleased with his speech, nodding frequently. After finished, he enthusiastically led the applause. Ms. Grace is truly young and promising, she will certainly achieve great things in the future. I am humbled. Daniel chuckled humbly, oh, not at all, just a small trick. We'll still need to rely on you, Mr. Thomas, in the future. Everyone in the office was applauding, except me. I merely watched the complacent Daniel, smiling silently. After had fully savored the adulation, he smiled and handed the contract to Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas opened the contract, read it carefully, nodded in satisfaction, and prepared to sign. Mr. Thomas, please do. And be in a hurry to sign, I suddenly spoke. Chapter 1 looked at Mr. Thomas apologetically. I'm sorry, but before we sign, I believe there are a few things you need to be made aware of. Mr. Thomas paused, and Daniel looked utterly bewildered. Everyone in the conference room simultaneously turned their gaze towards me. I walked onto the stage unhurriedly in my high heels. I inserted the USB drive, and the screen prominently displayed evidence of Daniel transferring the company's assets, along with the registration information and financial records of that overseas studio. My gaze swept across the room, finally resting on Mr. Thomas's face. Mr. Thomas, this is the project into which you are about to invest a significant amount of capital. What he planned was not the company's development at all, but how to force me out through a harsh earn-out clause, how to transfer the company's core assets overseas, and ultimately leave me, the founder, to shoulder tens of millions in buyback debt. Daniel's face turned ashen. He tried to explain, that's not true, Mr. Thomas, don't listen to her nonsense. These are all her wild guesses. As he finished speaking, he rushed forward, attempting to snatch the USB drive. Unfortunately, he had barely taken a few steps when the police, who had rushed in, restrained him. I looked at him coldly, whether it's nonsense or just guesses, you can explain that to the police. I, Grace, as the founder and largest shareholder of the company, hereby announce the termination of this fundraising round, and the immediate dismissal of Mr. Daniel from all his positions in the company. Furthermore, due to your, Mr. Daniel and Chloe's, alleged theft of trade secrets and illegal transfer of assets during your employment with the company, I, on behalf of the company, am now officially filing a lawsuit against you. No, Grace, darling, listen to me. Daniel struggled frantically. I glanced at him indifferently, then lightly shook my phone with a smile. I've already gathered evidence of your infidelity and your transfer of our joint assets. Don't call me darling anymore, because I'm filing for divorce against you immediately. Daniel screamed, crying, no, we can't get divorced, darling, have you forgotten? Mom isn't well, if she knew, she wouldn't be able to handle it. Shut up. My gaze was like a poisoned blade, coldly piercing him. When you were cheating, why didn't you think about Mom's health? When you were plotting against me behind my back and transferring company assets, why didn't you think about Mom's health? And now you have the nerve to bring up Mom to me? I was wrong, I was truly wrong, Grace, please forgive me. Daniel was still pleading, but I no longer heard him, as the police led him further and further away. Mr. Thomas, who had witnessed everything, was now dumbfounded, sitting in his chair and staring at me, unable to utter a single word for a long time. I apologize, Mr. Thomas, I bowed deeply to him, for the spectacle today. I hope there will be future opportunities for us to collaborate. May I treat you to a casual dinner as an apology? Mr. Thomas waved his hand, it's quite all right. You've had a tough time. Chapter Dad ultimately helped me with the lawsuit. I hadn't known how to tell my parents, but to my surprise, They saw the news of Daniel and Chloe's arrest and imprisonment in the financial news first. Mom's health wasn't as fragile as I'd imagined. Instead, she blamed me for enduring so much hardship without telling them. Alright, next time something like this happens, I promise I'll tell you, I said, hugging them. Dad frowned. You think there'll be a next time? No next time, I promise everything will go smoothly from now on, I said, smiling and waving my hand. A year later, I hosted a grand celebration party. Our performance this quarter had more than doubled compared to before, and the new products were a huge success. With a flourish, I announced in the workplace group chat that the entire company would receive 3 days of paid leave, and I also distributed several cash bonuses. Back at the company, my secretary brought in a large stack of envelopes. Ms. Grace, you've been receiving a lot of mail lately. I glanced at them. The senders column clearly read Daniel and Chloe. I smiled indifferently and tossed all the letters into the shredder. I didn't need to know their contents, whether they were filled with resentment or repentance, they no longer had any bearing on me. I already had new friends and a new lover. I had only lost Daniel and Chloe. I hadn't lost my right to love and be loved. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your perspectives, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.